Thank you again for attending Selling Senior Market Plans and Cross-Selling with Karen Stiggers. She's our regional manager in Georgia. Um, a few things about Karen. She's been a licensed life and health agent, property and casualty agent, and adjuster for over a decade. She holds a degree from Georgia State University in finance and real estate. I've known Karen since I've been working at Mesa for about 5 years, and she's a great person. She's a great regional manager. And she's just a great agent. She's a great all-around person. She understands how amazing this industry is and why you're working hard to build your business. Her hope is that you take a few nuggets away to help increase your sales, fatten your retirement, and help our most underserved community. So, with that being said, Karen Stiggers, go ahead and take it away, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you all for taking your time to be on this webinar this Thursday morning. I know we're still in a little new normal now, and we're all kind of doing our best to adjust to this new normal, but I appreciate you all taking the time and again getting on this webinar. I wanted to do this webinar because I get many calls in, from the office with agents, and they ask quite a few questions, which that's what they're supposed to do, but a lot is on the senior market plans and how do I effectively talk with my client and make sure that I'm offering them everything that I should. So when I talk to agents and I go through my questions with them, what are you saying to the client? Are you offering everything? Not just if they call you and say, I want a Medicare Advantage plan or I want an Aetna plan. Are you showing them and telling them the options between Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement? Are you explaining the PDP correctly? So I'm spent a lot of time on the phone doing this one-on-one, and I said it's just much simpler, to go ahead and do a webinar and answer a lot of these questions. When you cover all your bases, what do you need? What do I mean by that? I mean, what information are you getting or what's needed prior to meeting your client? And once you are meeting your client, be it in person or now virtually, are you giving them all the Medicare options? If they decide, once you went over Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement, are you offering a hospital indemnity plan with your MA clients? And lastly, what are you offering to your clients outside of AEP? Now that I'm here working with Messer, I'm not out in the field like I was as an agent, but I still have my clientele, my book of business, and I do get quite a few referrals. So you may have some clients that call you outside of open enrollment, and you think that there's nothing that you can do or nothing that you can offer them and sell them, but that's absolutely not true. So we're going to go over some of that. So when I talk about gathering information, I talk about what if a client has just called you, be it you sent out some information, some postcards, got some leads, and you're calling that client to see if you can service them. Or if they called you, again, what if they're a referral or you went out and hosted an event and you met that client? What is your fact finding? And that's what I'm talking about, gathering information. So if they are Medicare eligible, and that's the service that you're going to help them with, what are the things you need to get before you actually set up your appointment to go over the products with them? For one, you need to get a list of all the medications that the client takes. And not only those medications, you want to know the name of them, you want to know the strength of them, what the milligram is, and how often do they take that medication. Ask about the over-the-counter medications as well. People think, or agents sometimes just say, well, I just got the medicines that they take. No, you also want to get the over-the-counter medications. And why do you want to get that? Because for one, you want to know everything that your client is taking internally, and as well as if you decide or they decide to get a Medicare Advantage plan, most of those Medicare Advantage plans have some over-the-counter gratuses in that plan. So now once you get to that part of your presentation and you're talking about the over-the-counter items, you can say, hey, Ms. Jones, you told me you take a multivitamin, and a B12, or, they need a blood pressure kit. So this plan that we're talking about has $100 a quarter or $30 a quarter. So now you don't have to pay for this out of your pocket. So you've addressed that issue. Also, make sure you get a list of all the doctors that's included or what all the doctors that they use. And make sure you also include the dentist or any optometrists or ophthalmologists as well, not just the medical doctors. And sometimes you have to give them a little nudge, so if they say, yeah, I see Dr. Smith, is that your internal medicine? Is that your regular primary care doctor? Or is that a specialist? And then you may have to ask more questions. That's what you're doing. You're fact finding, you're gathering information, you're completing your needs analysis, whatever you want to call it. Your job is to get as much information as possible so you can effectively help your client. Ask about their physical activity. Ask if they go to the health club or, do they work out? Again, you're getting to know this person. This may be a stranger to you or still may be a referral. So you want to get this information. And why do you want to know about their physical activity? Because again, if you're selling them a Medicare Advantage plan and even some Medicare supplements, they also include silver sneakers or depending on the plan, silver and script. So when you get to that part of your presentation, when you talk about the health club, you can let them know, now, Ms. Jones, you have a free membership that you can go to various gyms in your area. Or if they don't go out now, again, because of COVID, we may be reluctant to go to the gym. Silver Sneakers will send you an in-home workout kit. So these again are the information that you want to ask your client. You also want to know if they receive any VA benefits or TRICARE. Why? Again, if they are veterans and they tell you, hey, well, I get my prescriptions, from the VA, then maybe if they decide on a Medicare Advantage plan, that you just want to do an MA only plan. And that way they'll give them a little more options. They may be able to get a zero premium PPO and don't have to pay for their prescription drugs. So again, you're gathering all this information. If they say that they're TRICARE or TRICARE for life, I would recommend you not write a plan for them. They already have everything covered in their veteran package, and you could potentially mess up their insurance that they have with the VA. So if they say that they're just a regular veteran, and they do go to the VA or they don't, then it's okay, in my opinion, to go ahead and look for a plan for them. If they say TRICARE, I stay away from that client and let them continue to have that benefit. And ask, is there someone who helps them make their healthcare decisions? I'm going to say that again. Ask that client, is there someone who helps them make their healthcare decisions? Now, why do we want to do that? Because time is money, right? So there's nothing like going and meet a client or even talking to them on the phone and you spend an hour and a half, 2 hours going over the plan and the presentation. And then they tell you, well, that sounds great when it's time now to make a decision that, I have to talk to my husband first, or I can't, this sounds great, Karen, but my daughter said I can't sign any paperwork without her looking over it first. Guys, that is just a waste of your time. So find that information out up front because now you got to go back and do that presentation over again. And you do not want to let your client try to relay that information, to that person that helps them make their decisions because they're not going to explain it like you. So gather this information, get that information up front. And have a form that you put all this information down on. I know when I got started in the business, I did not have that coach or that mentor, that I have built now for my team. So just running around, me and a couple of other insurance agents, just trying to figure this system out, figuring out how to gather all the information I needed. So I did look competent, when I went and met my client. So have a form or something that you put this information down. Now I'm going to toggle in between the PowerPoint and some, what I want to call it, some documents that I've created that may be able to help assist you. And this is what I've done for my agents. So I'm going to show you the form that I created a few years ago. Again, nothing fancy at all, just the information that I know that I needed. So I call that like my intake form. So this is the form that I use when a client calls me. Instead of writing it on 100 pieces of paper, which I used to do in the past, this is what I put all of my information. And you see, nothing fancy. I just wrote it down in Excel and copied and pasted to Word. So if a client calls me or referral, I put the date down. If we set an appointment date and time, that usually I don't fill out until I gather all my information. So guys, just the simple stuff that you need. What's my client's name? If they have a spouse, I want that information as well, because 9 times out of 10, they're close in age. So that's a potential client. Their address, their phone number, their email address. I always get an emergency contact for my clients. And I tell them, Ms. Jones, who's your emergency contact? And I'm asking you this because I'm going to check on you a few times out the year. And if I don't get an answer from you, I'm calling this person. And they'll usually, laugh or chuckle. So I need to have that information. If they're on a current plan already, I want to know what current plan that they're on. Income. I ask what their income is, but again, it's the way that you ask these questions. If they're brand new to Medicare, or even if they're not, again, depending on how the conversation is going, how comfortable I think they feel with me, I'll say, well, Ms. Jones, there are also some additional benefits that you may qualify for if you don't mind telling me your income. So I'll say something like, Ms. Jones, is your income below $1,600 a month? Because what am I doing? I'm looking at my extra help program sheet, and it tells me basically what they will qualify for based on what their income. So I don't come out and say, what's your income? Tell me that number, but I'll kind of fish around, or sometimes they'll give that information. They'll say, yes, honey, I only get, $800 a month from Social Security. That's all the income I get. But again, you're in your fact finding mode right now. You want to get as much information as possible. Medicaid, if they're on Medicaid, they'll tell you, and I put the Medicaid number there. And why? Because when I'm getting ready to write the plan, if we're doing a MA plan, I need that information to verify what level of Medicaid they have. Pharmacy, very important. You want to know what pharmacy they go to. So again, if you get them an MAPD plan, you need to know if the plan you're using is going to be a preferred pharmacy or a non-preferred pharmacy for that client. And again, just going down the list, their Medicare ID number, Part A, Part B, very, very important. When I was new, a rookie, didn't know what I was doing, didn't have any guidance, I'll get to a client's house, go through the whole presentation, then look at their Medicare card and see that they have Part A only. I tell you, it only took one time for me to do that. To say, okay, this is some information I need to verify up front. So guys, I'm being transparent and telling you the pitfalls that I went through without that guidance, so you will not fall into those pitfalls as well. So once I got that information, you see I just got here doctors and the location, where the doctor's located. Medications, again, I want to know the kind of medication, what the dosage is, and what those milligrams are, because I got to go do that work. And then some additional part for notes. So that is my fact finding form. Now this form here is my client log sheet. Again, nothing fancy, guys. This is what I use when I'm actually with the client, either in person or over the phone. Now this is where I write my notes. Again, the top part is their name, their spouses. I get that information from that first sheet. But here is where I put my comments. So if I met them today, I put 5/28/2020, and anything they told me that's relevant. So once they decided on a Medicare Advantage or Medicare supplement, this is what I'm writing. Ms. Jones chose a Medicare supplement because she has pre-existing conditions, and I showed her that an MA plan will end up costing her more because she sees, 4 specialists a month or whatever. So I put all of my comments on here. This is also to protect you, because you're not going to remember everything you say or do when you're with a client. So I'm jotting down these notes in just a simple form with my notes. And then when I get home, I attach that client log sheet to my manila folder with their information. And then I throw this form, in their folder as well. Very important. So when I see them again next year, now I can say, okay, Ms. Jones, are you still taking, X, Y, and Z medications, or what are you taking? And I can cross-reference them with what I already have on file, so I don't have to do that work over again. So again, guys, things that I have learned from getting my head bumped in the business. Okay, so let's go on to, are you presenting all the options to your client? This is a big stickler. I am so surprised that I talk to new agents and veteran agents that have been in the business 9, 10 years. And when they call me about certain questions, I'll ask them, so what did they say? What did your client say about a Medicare supplement? And they'll say, what do you mean? I said, so you asking me questions about Medicare Advantage, I answered those. So what did your client say? Why didn't they choose a supplement? And the agent would tell me, I didn't offer them that. They didn't mention that. And I asked the agent, but why not? If they coming to you and they need your assistance, they really don't know exactly what they need. And we know that. We've been out in the field long enough. Their next door neighbor has United Healthcare, or their friend has Humana, and they'll say, I need an agent and I want this plan that my neighbor has. But you're the licensed professional. You have all the information. So your job is to present all the options to your client and then let them decide. So if the Humana is what they choose, or Aetna, whatever, that's great. But as a professional, your job is not to take the cues from your client. You're supposed to get that information and listen to them, but your E&O is on the line and you have to present all their Medicare options to them. So this is what I'm going to go through. And this is what I do every single time I sit with a client. If I have never met you, I'm going to sit down and we're going to go over these Medicare options every single time. Now, if you're a new client and you've been my client, for several years, then of course I don't go through all of this because I've already explained it to you. And it's really unfortunate, and I can say 100% of the time when I sit down with the client, I don't care if they're new to Medicare, of course they probably wouldn't know all this information, but there's so many people that have been on MA plans for 7, 8, 9 years, and somehow they get my information and I meet with them and they tell me, Karen, no one has ever explained my options to me. So I am asking and imploring you to talk to your clients and explain those Medicare options. So I'm going to go through this because I go through this one-on-one with so many agents. So when you're doing a presentation, what are the parts of Medicare? Are you explaining that to your client? Are you explaining their options? Did you explain the late enrollment penalty? And do they understand those deductibles of a med sup and the increase in cost? So I'm going to go back to my notes. Here we go. Now, if I'm with a client face to face, I have my Medicare and You book. I hope all the agents on this webinar has a book. If you don't have a book, get a book. This is your Medicare Bible. Call a friend or family or grandmother or somehow and get this paper book. You can download it, that's fine. But when you download it, it does not give you all the information that's in the actual paper book. So when I go to a client's home, just say I'm doing a face-to-face. When I walk in and do all the pleasantries, and find out where they want me to sit, and try your best to sit at a table. They might just say, have a seat on the sofa. And I'll say, well, Ms. Jones, that's fine. But if you have a table, that would really be better because I have some paperwork I need you to see and I have to use my computer and it's just a little bit more comfortable. So first ask them where they want you to sit. But then if they suggest a sofa, if possible, get to a table. Sometimes they don't have a table and we use, a TV tray, a TV stand, that's fine. But, ask those questions. Okay, so this is what I do when I get to a client's home. But now that I've been doing them virtually, I'll email this attachment to them. So this is your Medicare and You book 2020. And again, guys, this is what I do. I'm not pulling out any plans because I don't even know what the client wants. They think they want a Medicare Advantage and they may want that. That's fine. But my job is to show them their options. So when I'm face to face with my client, I'm opening up this book. So if they have their book, that's the first thing I do. Ms. Jones, do you have this Medicare and You book? And they may say, oh yeah, I have it right here. Or 9 times out of 10 is, honey, I have no idea where that book is. So I tell them, I said, well, you're going to get all kind of stuff in the mail, because they know that you're 65. But always keep this book. This book is from CMS. This is from the Department of Human and Health Services. So always make sure you keep this book. So if they don't have it, I pull mine out and I sit at the table. I say, well, Ms. Jones, first of all, we're going to go over Medicare. Do you understand the difference between do you understand your options? And I'll wait and they'll look at me like a deer in headlights. No, I say, so we're going to go over the difference first between Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement, and then you let me know what you want to do after we finish. And they'll say, okay. So I start off with page 5, and this is the 2020 book. So I'll say, let me see if I can make it. So I'll say, Miss Jones, these are the parts of Medicare, and I'll ask them to see their Medicare card. And I've already gotten the information, but just say, what if you met someone or someone called you or you have a business reply card and they're not comfortable with giving you that information over the phone. They don't want to give you their doctors or their prescriptions, which happens sometime because, they don't know who you are. So just allow for that time that you're going to have to do the script check and all of that while you're there. But if they've given you that information, great. But I still tell them, let me see your card. So now I have their card on the table, their Medicare card. So this is what I do. I say, okay, Miss Jones, I say, you see on your card, you have Part A and Part B. So I'm explaining to you the parts of Medicare. Part A is hospital insurance. Hospital insurance covers everything inpatient. So inpatient care in a hospital, any skilled nursing facility, hospice, or home health care. So think about Part A as being confined, being inside. And they'll be like, okay. So Part B is medical. That's everything outside of the hospital. So those are services from doctors or other healthcare providers, any of your outpatient care or home health care, or any kind of durable medical equipment. And it also covers a lot of your preventative services, like your annual screenings or your shots and your vaccines. And then I'll stop right there and I say, so you see your card? And I say, so Part A is hospital. And if you work for 10 years or 40 credit hours and paid into Medicare, you don't pay anything for Part A. Part B is what you do pay for. You pay maybe about $144, and they'll say, oh yeah, they're taking $150 out of my check, or $102, or whatever it is. I say Part B is what you pay for, exactly. I say Medicare is an 80-20 plan. So with this card, Medicare is going to pay 80% of your bills, and you're responsible for the other 20%. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to try to assist you on how to help you offset that cost for that 20%. Does that make sense? And I said, okay, yes, that makes sense. I said, okay, so we got the medical part out the way. Now Part D is prescription drug coverage. What that does is help cover you the cost of your prescriptions. Now this part is run by a private health insurance plan, but they do have to follow the rules of Medicare. So this is something that you pay for separately. And he'll look at me and I'll say, well, how much is it? I said, well, it just depends. A Part D prescription can run, depending on your state, anywhere from $15, up to over $100 a month. And that depends on what your needs are based on your prescriptions. Now, Ms. Jones, Part D is optional, but if you do not get a Part D prescription drug plan within 63 days of you becoming eligible, you may be charged a late enrollment penalty. So then I go to this page. I have all of these already dog-eared in my book. So I go to page 77. I said, see here, it says a Part D late enrollment penalty. If that amount is permanently added to your Part D premium, you see you may owe a late enrollment penalty at any time after that date your initial enrollment period is over, that there's 63 days or more in a row. So I told them that verbally, but I also want to show them that as well. So what that means for agents that may not understand is if they're new to Medicare, they have that 7-month window. So the month of their birthday, like I got a referral last week, and I wrote a gentleman a couple of days ago. His birthday is July 1st. That's his effective date. So he has July 1st. He has April, May, and June, 3 months before his birthday, the month of his birthday, and August, September, October. So 63 days after October, if he didn't get a prescription drug plan, then he will be in line to get that late enrollment penalty. Okay, so once I go through that, I say, okay, so now we understand that a little bit, Ms. Jones. And you can kind of see the cobwebs clearing a little bit. And if they don't, guess what? I go right back and I repeat it. My job is to educate you. I'm not a salesperson. I'm going to educate you, because once I educate you, you're going to buy anyway, because I know what I'm talking about. So then I go to this page, which is page number 6. So I said, okay, Ms. Jones, now here you are. Now here are your Medicare options. So we're going to talk about what's on the left side of the page and what's on the right side of the page. And then you let me know which one you decide, okay? Okay. So I say, now you talked about Part A, right? You have Part A. Part A is hospital. That's anything that you're confined. Part B, you already have Part B. You see those two are checked. I say, now it says you can add Part D. And that's true. You can add it. But what did I just say? And then they'll usually say, oh, it's a penalty. It's a penalty. Absolutely. If you don't add it, you're going to get a late enrollment penalty. And that penalty never goes away. I said, and you also have the option to get a supplement. I said, you've seen the commercial. Sometimes they'll call it a Medicare supplement or Medicare, a Medigap plan. I said, now this is going to take care of that 20%. Remember, we said Medicare pays 80%, you pay 20%. So for example, Ms. Jones, you go to the doctor and your bill is $100. No problem. Medicare is going to pay $80. You're responsible for $20. Okay, I get it. I said, now what happens, heaven forbid, something serious happens. You have a heart attack or stroke or something and you're in the hospital, or you need to get all these tests run and your bill is $100,000. Medicare is going to pay that $80,000, but you're responsible for $20,000. And then I look at them. Ms. Jones is about to have a heart attack for real. I said, with original Medicare, there is no stop loss. So that means you're responsible for 20% of whatever your bill is. That's why I'm here to show you these two options. So this option on the left, the Medicare supplement side or the original Medicare side, your 80% is taken care of. We're going to add you a prescription drug plan, which will run you, just say $20, $25 a month maybe, and then also a supplement. Now, there are several supplements you can choose from, and they range since you're turning 65, about maybe $120 a month, $125 a month, depending on the company. I said, so let's go take a look at the supplements. And then I go to this page, page 70. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I hope you can still see it. So when I don't go through every letter, so I tell them, okay, you see, Ms. Jones, we got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I said, but what we want to do is help mitigate your cost of that 20%. So the most popular plans, I'll make it a little bigger, is a plan G and a plan N. Those are the two, I'm just telling you, that I mostly refer to. I said, so let's take a look at it. I say, see, look at plan G. You see that 100%? Oh, let me use my mouse. So you see 100% goes all the way down. So it's taking care of that 20%. 100%, 100%. I say, you see, the only thing that's missing right here is your Part B deductible. And your Part B deductible is what you will pay before your supplement starts. And that Part B deductible for this year, Ms. Jones, is $198. So you're only responsible for the first $198, and then everything else is paid for 100%. And your foreign travel is 80%. So Ms. Jones, this Plan G, like I said, maybe around $120 a month, $125. The Plan N, that's a little less expensive option. You see, that's 100% as well, right? Until you get to these two. Again, the Part B deductible, so you're responsible for that first $198, and also the Part B excess charges. And then I'll wait, and they might say, well, what's the excess charges? But I'm gonna go over it anyway. So right here, I said, so this is the difference between the G and the N, and it may be a $20 to $25 or so difference. So it says Plan N pays 100% of your Part B coinsurance, except for a copayment of up to $20 for some office visits and $50 for emergency room visits that don't result in inpatient admission. And then I'll wait for a second because that's a lot of information. And I said, so you see, Plan G will cover your 20% minus $200, and I'll show them right here at $198. And in Plan N, I cover your 100% minus the $200, $198, and maybe $20 copayment up to $50. And I'll wait for a second. Then I'll go back up here. I said, so let's do a recap. I said, so if you stay on the original Medicare side, you're paying for your Part B. That doesn't go away, because sometimes they'll say, okay, so this side I don't pay for Part B. No, you still pay for Part B. That's your Medicare Part A and Part B. That doesn't go away versus the original Medicare side or the Medicare Advantage. So that $144, let's put that to the side. You're going to pay that regardless. But on the original Medicare side, You'll get a supplement and a Part D prescription drug. So let's say that may be around $150. And we'll say, okay, you understand that? And they'll say, okay, I understand that. I say, okay, so let's go on this side. Now, this is your Medicare Advantage side. This is also known as a Part C. They call this plan an all-in-one because it bundles a lot of the stuff together that we talked about. So you see the check marks, it already bundles your Part A and Part B. Medicare Advantage has to cover everything original Medicare covers. So your Part A and your Part B is in here, Ms. Jones. And most of the plans cover Part D. So you told me you're not a veteran, so you don't have prescription drugs. So I'll make sure if you choose the Medicare Advantage side, we'll make sure you have a Part D prescription drug plan in it. And some of those Medicare Advantage plans also have some extra benefits like, vision. They may have some dental in there and some over-the-counter items. And then they'll usually stop, Elsa Ellen and Health Club membership. And they'll usually stop and say, so I don't get dental and vision on the original Medicare side. And I said, no, ma'am, you don't get that on that side, but I also can offer you additional dental and vision plans. And they'll sit for a minute and say, okay. I said, so to kind of break it down, I say this side is pay now and this side is pay later. I said, so what I mean by that is the original Medicare side, you're going to pay your premium every month to pay for offset that 20% cost. So I told you on the left side, it's going to run you maybe about $150 a month. So you're going to pay that whether you go to the doctor or the hospital. But when you go, after you pay that $198 deductible, you have no more out-of-pocket costs. So that's why I call this the pay now side. This is the pay later side because with your Medicare Advantage, most of those plans are zero premium or a low monthly premium. But this side you pay when you go. So if you go to the doctor, it may be a $5 copay. If you go to a specialist, maybe a $30, $40 copay. If you get an MRI, maybe a $300 copay. That depends on which plan that you choose. But you don't pay anything usually per month, but you pay when you go. On this side, like I said, you mitigated your costs that once you pay your monthly premium, you have no additional out-of-pocket costs. This side does have a stop loss. I said, so remember when I gave you that example, if you're in a hospital or if you get a lot of doctor bills and they run up $100,000, you're responsible for $20,000. I said, with the Medicare Advantage plan, your plan has a stop loss, which means the maximum you're going to pay. So depending on that plan, it may be, $5,000, $4,000, $10,000. So in that example I gave you, you wouldn't be responsible for $20,000. You'll be responsible for your maximum out of pocket, and that may be $5,000 depending on your plan. And then I'll be quiet and I'll watch my client. And I say, do you understand? And they'll sit. And if they don't, we'll go over it again. But guess what? That's my job. And if they do understand, so I said, based on what I told you, I said, Ms. Jones, do you want to go on the left side or do you want to go on the right side? Do you want to do the original Medicare with the prescription drug or the supplement or the Medicare Advantage? That's what I do. It's not my decision. It's their decision. And based on what they say, that's the route we go. Now, if I've already gotten their information in advance, their prescription drugs, their doctors, I've already done my homework, right? That's the whole point of gathering that information. I don't want to spend 4 hours at the client's home. So I've already worked up both scenarios. If they say, all right, Karen, I want to go to Medicare Advantage, great. Here are the 2 plans or the 3 plans that I suggest based on the information you gave me. If they say I want to go the Medicare supplement route, great. I've already got that information preloaded, saved already. Now I'm going to show you the 2 or 3 prescription drug plans that we've chose. So I've done my homework. Again, if you didn't get that information in advance, it's going to take you a little longer on that appointment. But that's what your job is. Your job is not to sway your client because you're afraid to write a Medicare supplement. They're way easier than a Medicare Advantage. And they do pay about the same. The only difference is that Advantage plan, you get that lump sum up front, but the supplement, you get it every single month. So it's what's best for your client, guys, not what's easy for you. And I implore you, if you're not offering both options to your client, that you can really be in trouble because your job is to present that information to them. So let's just say for this sake, if they say I'm going to go with the Medicare Advantage. Okay, great. So with the Medicare Advantage, like I said, the couple that I've chosen for you that we'll take a look at, they're a zero premium. But remember when I told you that this is a pay later plan. So usually some of the most expensive costs in the Medicare Advantage plan is hospital, or ambulance, emergency room, things like that. So do you already have a hospital and a cancer plan in place? See, this where the cross-selling comes in, guys. So if they're doing a supplement, you don't have to worry about a hospital plan because it takes care of the 20%. So if they pick a Advantage plan, I say, okay, great. Do you already have a hospital or a cancer plan in place? And you wait on the answer. They'll usually say, they may have a cancer plan, but they're like, no, what's that? I said, okay, so when we go over the Advantage plan and I go over the copays and everything, don't worry, I have a hospital plan for you. Since you're paying zero for your plan, that they usually run about $30, $25, $30 a month. And that would help cover some of that large expense that you may have. Is that affordable that works for you? And they're like, oh yeah, $30, because I couldn't afford that $150, even though I like the supplement. If most people, if they had the money, they're going to choose the supplement. But usually they don't have it. That's the only reason why, and they'll choose the Advantage plan. So fine, zero premium, we can get $30 a month. Ma'am, that's $1 a day, and that's going to help you in case you need this plan. So bam, we got that out the way, okay? Now, we talked about the supplement. This page, I just put on the end quickly. I'm not going to go over it, but sometimes you do get those clients like me, which are A-type personalities, and they want to know, well, what is the exact penalty and how do they come up with the penalty? Or I'm meeting the client, and this has happened several times, that they're 70 years old, 72, and they do not have a prescription drug plan. So they will have a penalty, and they don't qualify for extra help. So I will show them this page, and I'll go ahead and estimate based on this how much that penalty is, so they won't be shocked. And I'll let them know, Ms. Jones, your penalty is going to be an extra $12 a month, but that penalty you will have every single month, for the rest of your life. So I'll go ahead and calculate that. So I just wanted to show you. So if you have a 2020 book, it's on page 78. And I'll go ahead. I say, now don't stick me to the number, but pretty much if I know on their card they didn't have it, I can tell them how much that is. And I'll let them know you're going to get a letter, from the plan that's telling you about the penalty. So again, you want to make sure your client knows. Also, real quick, I don't want to spend so much time, but when I talk about the supplement, I talk about the G and the N, and then I also mention, and also they have what's called a high deductible G. They used to have a high deductible F, but if you didn't turn 65 by January, you can't offer that, but they have a high deductible G. So I said, what that is, Ms. Jones, that's a supplement as well. And the high deductible G plan is only about $30 a month, but you take on more of the risk. So remember, if you get the regular G, you're responsible for the first $198, and then the plan pays 100%. If you get the high deductible G, it's exactly what it says. Your deductible is higher. You're responsible for the first $2,340, and then after that, your plan pays 100%. So for $30 a month, they can get a high deductible G, and then they know that this is what they're responsible for, and then the plan pays 100%. So once they say, okay, I choose Medicare Advantage, I'm writing that in my notes, and then we're going on from there. Okay. Hospital indemnity. I offer that, like I said, with every single MA plan or MAPD plan. And what does it do? As I mentioned before, it covers one of the most expensive out-of-pocket costs for your client. It also protects you as an agent, because we know if you've been in this business long enough, when stuff hits the fan, they want to come back and blame the agent. They're in a hospital for a week. We know we have a deadly disease going around right now with COVID-19, that it's a likelihood that our senior population can get sick and go into the hospital. And if they find out about this hospital plan, you didn't offer it to them, they can really make trouble for you. And you may have to use your E&O. Well, you mean Karen had this plan and she sat down with me and she didn't even mention this at all? So cover yourself, guys. Even if they don't purchase it, cover your butt. And also, I always offer a cancer rider for added protection. So let's go on. Oops. let's look at this scope. And it's surprising that I've talked to agents all the time and they had no idea. In most of the plans, this is what your scope of the appointment looked like. And again, new agents versus 10-year-old agents, and I know that sometimes Medicare can scare you. Like, I don't know what I can talk about and what I can't talk about. Guys, the only thing you cannot sell not the only thing, but you cannot sell a life insurance, or you can't go over a life insurance plan. But this is a healthcare presentation. So you can go over everything that's in the scope of the appointment. Medicare Advantage, we talked about that, right? Prescription drug, Medicare supplement, separate dental, vision, hearing, hospital indemnity. So when I'm meeting with the client, they're going to check or initial every single one of these boxes, every single one. Because if I'm doing a compliant, proper presentation, I'm going over all of this stuff anyway, right? So they're going to check all of this. Now with your scope, we don't have to do 48 hours in advance anymore, which is great. So depending on the comfortability of the client, when we sit down at the table, either I'll have them sign or check all of this off first, or I'll do it now, right after I did that portion of the presentation, because I didn't violate anything. I didn't go into a medical plan. I didn't go into an MA plan. I just told them their MA options, right? I didn't go into the actual Medicare supplement plan or a prescription drug plan. So you can sign this when you first sit down. They can go ahead and sign an initial, or they can do it now that you explain, their options. But guys, you can sell a hospital indemnity plan with a MA plan. In fact, you should always do that. Okay, so we're done with that part. Whew, gotta take a breather. Okay, so this is what I do now. Where is it? Here. Okay, so I have agents that ask me, well, how do you incorporate it? How do you talk about and get that Medicare that hospital plan sold? So you saw the first check mark, right? Is when they told me that they want to do the Advantage versus the supplement. I said, okay, great, we'll do the Medicare Advantage plan. Well, the ones I'm going to show you is zero premium. Remember I said that? And then I asked them, do you already have a hospital or cancer plan? And they told me no. So, and I told them, okay, well, don't worry about that, right? I said, when we get to the presentation, when we go over the plan, I'll talk to you about that. So this is when I talk to them about that. So what are you doing? You're just planting those seeds and putting those little nuggets in their ears. So I'm not going to go over the entire Medicare presentation, but I want to show you a couple of the pages on how I get this done. So we go over monthly paying premium, zero, plan deductible, blah, blah, blah. This is $250 deductible only if it's out of the network. So then when we get to the inpatient hospital, so I say, okay, Ms. Jones. Oh, first, we got to make sure we explain that maximum out of pocket. So again, Ms. Jones, it's a zero premium, but the most you can pay in this plan is $5,900 if you stay in the network. Now with the PPO, you have the option to go in and out of the network, but if you go out of the network, then your maximum out of pocket is $10,000. Okay. But I checked, Ms. Jones, all of your doctors and everybody that you use are currently in the plan. Okay, inpatient hospital. So you're responsible for $285 copay per day for days 1 through 7. After that is zero copay for days 8 through 90, and you don't pay anything for 91 and beyond. But remember when I asked you before, I told you I'll be able to help you take care of that. So that's going to be one of your most expensive bills. If you're in the hospital for 7 days, heaven forbid, let's see, that's 285 times 7. That's $1,995. So it's about $2,000 that you have to pay out of pocket. And then a client usually say, I don't have $2,000, $285 a day. And I said, don't worry. Remember I said, I have a hospital plan about $30 a month. We'll take care of that. And they're like, okay. Then we go on into the rest of the stuff, blah, 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 blah. So that's how I mentioned that. Let me see how much time I have. Oh, I got so much information to tell you guys. We may have to do a part 2. Okay, another one, a stickler that I have to talk about real quick is prescription drugs. So the guys and gals, to keep your MAPD plan compliant, you must explain the choices, MAPD versus supplement. You have to explain the prescription drugs and explain it correctly. It is amazes to me that we have agents that still do not understand how to explain the prescription drug part, but it's okay. I'm going to explain that in a second. You must also make sure when you're doing a presentation that you have to talk about the multi-language inserts. I've seen agents that I've gone on appointment with that do not mention that. Even though they only speak English, you have to tell them that we have those multi-language inserts. So when I get to that page, I'll make a joke, I say, oh, we get to the multi-language page. I said, okay, we're just about done. Do you need me to send you your book in Japanese or, something like that? And they'll bust out laughing, but you have to tell them about the multi-language inserts. And you also must mention the star ratings and show them that star rating. So make sure you are doing those things in your presentation. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the prescription drug plan. Maybe kind of quick because we're getting a little bit closer to our time, but again, so many agents do not know how to explain this properly. When I'm with them, I'll usually have a piece of paper and I'll kind of draw it out to make it a little more visual. But you have to explain this. And even when I get to this part, I'll tell them, I say, okay, now we're about to go over the prescription drug part. It is confusing, I'm telling you now. but I'm gonna go over it. And if you got a question later or you think about something, make sure just give me a call. I know it's a lot of information, Ms. Jones, but I need to explain this to you. And guys, you have to explain this to a client, even if they're on Medicaid, even if they're on extra help. So even though their prescriptions may be $1.35 or $3.50, you have no idea when that can change. When they no longer receiving extra help or Medicaid, and that happens. People decide to get a part-time job or so, and now their income is over the threshold, and they're used to paying $1 for their prescriptions. Now they're paying $20, and they have no idea. Are they going to remember? No, but you've done your job. So quickly, I'm going to go ahead and explain this. So what I did, this is a copy of Aetna's PPO plan. So if I was offering this plan to the client, when we get to the prescription drugs, wait, forgot about this part. When I'm going through all of this, ambulance. So Ms. Jones, ground ambulance. So if you have to call the ambulance, it's a $275 copay. I said, remember I told you about the hospital plan? The hospital plan also covers $250 of that. So only thing you'll be responsible for is $25. So I mentioned that hospital plan again. And then when we get here to the Medicare Part B chemotherapy, now, Ms. Jones, if you, heaven forbid, get cancer, you are responsible for 20% of the chemotherapy drugs. But you mentioned that you didn't have a cancer plan, so guess what? When we get to that part, we're going to help you take care of that as well. So now you've planted about 4 or 5 seeds about your hospital plan, right? Because it's fear. It's fear of having to come up with these costs and you don't have that additional money. So I want to show you that. Okay. So say they pick this plan, they don't get extra help. So Ms. Jones, we're going to go over the outpatient prescription drug part. So in your plan, it says deductible. After you pay your $200 deductible, you pay the cost sharing amounts. And I'm right here at the bottom, guys. Cost sharing amounts in the table below. The deductible does not apply to tier 1 and tier 2. Again, I've already looked at the client drug. So if they have a tier 3 and above drug, then I'll make this point, hammer it even more. So Ms. Jones, you have a, a diabetes drug. It's a tier 3. So you're responsible for the first $200 before you get to your $47 copay. If all their drugs are tier 1 and tier 2, I let them know right now you don't have any drugs more than a tier 1 or tier 2, so you don't have to worry about that $200 deductible. But if you do, I just want you to be aware that you have that. Okay, I said, so now the prescription drug is broke out in parts. You have what's called your initial coverage limit, your coverage gap or your donut hole, and then you have your catastrophic coverage. Hope I got it somewhere. And I just hate the way that they have it all kind of split up in the plan. Let me see. Here it goes. Sorry, guys, I'm making you dizzy. But yeah, some of the plans have it all kind of split up. So what I'll tell them, I say, so your initial coverage period, that's what you and the plan paid for your prescription drugs before you enter your coverage gap, which is $4,020. So for example, Ms. Jones, you have a tier 1 or tier 2 drug, a tier 3 drug. Just say your tier 2 drug really costs $100, right? But your copay is only $10. But that entire $100 goes into this part, into your initial coverage. Remember, it says the amount you and the plan pays. So even though you have a $10 copay, that prescription is $100. That $100 is going into this bucket right here. So if you reach $4,020, then you go into the coverage gap, or what we call the donut hole. And that's when your prescriptions become more expensive. You're going to pay 25% for the cost of that drug. It doesn't matter if it's a brand name or if it's a generic. But what happens, you're not in that donut hole, that coverage gap from $4,020 to $6,350. Once you reach $4,020, it goes back to look at what you actually paid out of pocket. And that's called your true out-of-pocket cost. So you and the plan got to 40/20, but out of your pocket, you might have only spent $800 or $1,000. So you're actually in a donut hole from $1,000 to $6,350. And I'll stop, and they'll look at me like I'm crazy. So I'm like, yes, from $1,000 to $6,350, you're going to pay 25% for whatever prescriptions you get, brand name and drugs, until you get to $6,350. And then that's when you're in what's called catastrophic coverage. And at that point, you're going to pay either $3, for some reason not on this page, $3.65 or something like that for brand name, $8.95 for generic, or the greater of 5%. And you must emphasize that, the greater of 5%. So if that's a generic drug and that generic drug is $6, you're going to pay $6, not $3.95. Now remember, look at every plan, because some of them are different. Some of the plans say even if you're in a donut hole, you'll still pay what the tier 1 and the tier 2 drug is, but you have to explain that. I have so many agents that gets to this part and say that you're in a donut hole from 40/20 to 63/50, and you are not. You're in a donut hole from what they actually paid out of pocket until they get to $6,350. All right, had to say that. Almost done, guys. Oh, hospital indemnity. Okay, so we've wrapped up, right? Okay, we wrapped up. They said they want to do the hospital indemnity plan. We've already signed the application for the MA plan, right? Got that done. You want to get that application done first, done and signed, one thing at a time. Once they've gotten that signed, then we go to the hospital plan. I pulled up Medico. We have several hospital plans with Messer Financial. You have Medico, Aetna has a plan, GTL has a plan. So just pick whatever works for you. But after we've got that application signed and sealed or electronic, however we did it, we'll say, okay, whew, we both take a breather. You know, I say, all right, Ms. Jones, we got that out the way, right? We got your Medicare Advantage plan done. You have any questions about that? If they do, you answer them. If they don't, I said, remember I was telling you about that large out-of-pocket cost that you would have, you know, if you go into the hospital or your ambulance. I say, now this is the hospital plan that I was sharing with you. So quickly, I like this Medico because it's really simple, a simplified plan. So either I go right in here and go ahead and start showing them, or sometime I may do this. Again, if it's a new client, you're going to spend a little more time versus someone else because they trust you. So this hospital plan I really, really like. So I'll have this printed out or I'll show them on here. And then I may say, you know, remember we talked about your hospital confinement. Here it is here. Emergency room benefit. They have a transportation and lodging benefit. And remember we said in your plan, you have a $275 copay. If you call the ambulance, you see here in the plan that they can pay $250 of that. So let me go to just real quick. I love it because it's really quick. Just say I'll put the zip code in, and I've already have saved this. This is my client or potential client, but for you guys, I'm gonna do it. Just say 7/1/2020. Oops, that's date of birth. 7/1/1955. Okay, so they're 65. Start new. household discount. I already found out if someone's living in the home, but if I didn't, I'll ask them, Ms. Jones, is there anyone living in the home? Yes, my husband. Okay, great. That's going to qualify you for a 7% discount. Click hospital indemnity. I want this plan to start. Oops. We'll do that in a little bit. Okay. So what am I doing? They picked the Aetna plan. It's $285 per day. So I'll go to $300 per day. That plan, they're responsible for the first 7 days. I got that in there. I did the ambulance service rider. These are the two that I suggest as an absolute must. You see, it's only $3 for this ambulance service rider, and then they're only out of pocket $25. So we've already covered now their basic needs. Look at this, guys. It's only $22.67. Their copay is $285 per day, days 1 through 7. We've already got it taken care of with $300 per day. Now I said, Ms. Jones, you mentioned that you didn't have a cancer plan. You see that, heaven forbid, if you do get cancer, you're going to be responsible for 20% of that chemotherapy drug. And you know that can get pretty expensive. So our plan here has a lump sum cancer rider. You can go anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000, you know, based on what your budget is. So look, Ms. Jones, for $2,500, your plan is $27.26 a month, but now you've got diagnosed with cancer, you get a check for $2,500, and you can use that to help pay for your chemotherapy drugs. How does that sound? And you wait on an answer. You know, well, how much is it for $5,000? You know, then simple, you just click the button, $31.86. Click the button, blah, blah, blah. Real simple, really, really simple plan. So wanted to show you that. We are almost out of time. Told you I got a lot of information. I might need to do another webinar. Okay. Okay, fortune is in a follow-up. After you are finished with your client, you've already got the Medicare Advantage done. You've gotten your hospital indemnity / cancer plan. So what happens when you're leaving? Once you finish your appointment, let the client know that you'll be calling them back, you know, in a minimum of a couple of weeks to check on them. Excuse me, that's very important. If you don't talk to them before then, it's very important. You want to reassure them that you're not a salesperson. You just didn't come in here and sign them up for some stuff. So you want to call them back, let them know, hey, Ms. Jones, did you get your Aetna card? Did you get your medical or whatever hospital plan, you know, that you sold them? Did you get all your information? Do you have any questions? That's what you're calling back for. Also, if they didn't get the hospital plan, 99% of the time when I'm with the client, they get that hospital plan when I'm there. But if not, you know, they may have to juggle some funds around. You want to mention that again when you call them back. Now, on this call, you can begin talking to them about life insurance because you're done with your health care appointment. And then even when you're leaving the home and you're handing them a couple of your business cards, you know, you can let them know at that time, well, this isn't all I do. I also, you know, do retirement plans or whatever else you do. And I also sell life insurance, but I can't talk about that at this appointment time. But when I follow back up with you, we'll talk more about that. You know, at this time, also, when you're talking to them, you've built a rapport with them by now. So now you can get even a little more nosier, you know, ask about other family members. You know, do they have children, grandchildren, if you didn't get that information, you know, when you were there, and see if they may need your assistance, you know, for life insurance. And lastly, I'm going to talk about outside of AEP business. Now, this can be if you had a new client or a referral, someone calls you during the year. What do? It's not AEP. So what you want to do is when you get that phone call, you want to check, you know, do your pleasantries and all of that. And then you want to check and see what plan they're currently enrolled in now. Oh, I'm enrolled in a Humana plan. Okay, awesome. How do you like that plan? Well, it's okay. Oh, it's pretty good. And then second, I always want to ask them, do you already have an agent? And if they are, because they in a Medicare Advantage plan, I want to know, because if they already have an agent, I don't want to step on their toes. I do not do that. I don't steal people's clients. So when Miss Smith, do you have an agent right now? They'll say yes or no. Oh yeah, my nephew or blah blah blah. I said, well, Miss Smith, I can answer a question if you have it, but you know, legally that is your agent, you know, so I don't want to step on their toes or say something, you know, some information that they might not have shared with you. So it may be good to check, you know, back with your agent first. And if you can't reach them, or you decide not to work with them again, or work with them, then give me a call back. But I want to know if they already have an agent. Or I'll get the answer when I ask that question. An agent, well, yeah, I had a guy that signed me up 5 years ago and I hadn't heard from him since. Great. You know, you say, well, okay. I said, well, you know, unfortunately, sometimes that happens. Maybe they're no longer in the business, but I'll be more than happy to assist you. And if I can answer all your questions, you know, and be able to do a personal insurance review, make sure that, you know, you're in the right plan. Are you willing to change agents and make me your agent of record? And then they usually say yes. And that's just simply filling them writing a letter and you submitting it that they want to be that you're their new agent. So I'll go on and ask them if they receive extra help or LIS. And why am I asking them that? Because if they do, and I do find out in the needs analysis that they are in the wrong plan, then I can change it, right? Because now they have a special election period. And then what I always ask, if they are in a Medicare Advantage plan, do they have a hospital or cancer plan? So let's say they're in a Humana plan, they don't get extra help, or they do get extra help, but that's still the best plan for them. So we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to make me the agent of record now, and then we can still sell them if they meet the healthcare qualifications, a hospital plan, a cancer plan, because 9 times out of 10, that agent did not offer that plan to them. So this is how you can cross sell. You can always make a sale when you are talking about a particular business, because there are going to be some gaps. There are going to be some holes that may need to be filled, and that's what your job is. And you can also ask that new client or referral about life insurance, because again, you're not on an MA appointment. They called you, or you're following back up on a referral. So these are the things that you can begin and start asking them about. Whew. I know that was a lot of information, guys and gals, but I wanted to really do this presentation because I get calls again about what do I do in this situation. No one has ever shared with me that I was supposed to be talking about all of this. And I just want to make sure that you all are doing a compliant presentation. So with that, Chris, I know we have a little bit of time left, but I'm still here available. If you got any questions, we can go ahead and get those answered before we end the webinar.
All right, thank you, Karen. That was a lot of information and it was very informative. I have a couple of questions. There's a question. Could you share that form with us?
Sure, I can.
Okay, another question is, can we have a copy of this? We post our webinars online, but if there are any forms or materials mentioned in the webinar, we're going to email that to you. So not a problem. Another question is, can you talk about the SOA and how you can talk about all the options? What do they say about the SOA so they will mark all the options?
Okay. So again, you're in control of that presentation. So when I'm sitting down with that client and I say, okay, we're sitting down, we've had our pleasantries, and I say, well, Ms. Jones, I said, this is the scope of the appointment. This is what allows me to go over these Medicare options with you. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about during our meeting. So in order for me to stay compliant, I need you to sign or check mark all of these things that we're going to discuss. And then that's not obligating you to purchase anything, but in order for me to stay compliant, I have to have this marked or have this checked that, you know, that we're going to discuss these things. And that's it. And they'll check it and sign it, and that's it.
Okay,
so I let them know, you know, it's not obligating them to purchase anything.
Okay. Another question is concerning Plan N. I found out that some people do pay the office visit charge, while others say their doctor does not charge that. Why is that? Do some doctors write it off, you think?
Yeah, it says that you may be charged for the excess charges. It doesn't say that you will. It depends. So it says here, this is what you're responsible for: Part B deductible and excess charges. If there are no excess charges, you're not being charged. So it just really depends on the doctor. That's why it says except for a copayment up to $20. So it may be zero, or they can charge you up to $20. So it just depends on the doctor or the office visit.
All right, that was all the questions.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I hope you guys got some information out of this. And remember, make sure that you're offering your client these choices. Oh, thanks, Ken. Make sure you're offering them these choices. I do this every single time, and I can tell you 100% of the time that the beneficiary says, Karen, no one has ever, I've been on Medicare Advantage for whatever years, and no one has ever explained to me. So guys, the money is out there. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. Once you explain this, and like I said, put in those tidbits and already get their minds working on that supplement and on that hospital plan, it's gonna all pay off. They're gonna be ready to now for you to look at their life insurance because you've already explained this so well. And again, make sure you are teaching or saying that prescription drug right, mentioning that multi-language insert and that star rating. And I will get that information to you, Chris, to share.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy, and gals, enjoy the rest of your week, and be blessed, and we'll have more webinars for you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time. We'll have some more webinars, so be on the lookout for the emails. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.